Well, in my 20s, I coached a freshman high school basketball team, and I had a perfect record. I was 0-18. We didn't win one game. In fact, I coached an entire game with my fly down. We're in the locker room at the end of the game, and one of my players came up and said, "Hey, coach, did you notice your fly was down?" I said, "No, I didn't. Why didn't you tell me?" And he said, "Well, I thought it was kind of funny." Anyway, it was a short career as a basketball coach. And over the years, I have found I am a better spiritual coach than a basketball coach. So let me be a spiritual coach for just a few moments this morning. Just call me Coach Ken, okay? Let me tell you this. This is what Proverbs says. In everything you do, put God first, and He will direct you and crown your efforts with success. The truth is this: God wants you to be successful in your life, in your vocation, with your family, in your servanthood. God longs for you to be a success. Well, Lori Beth Jones, who has written dozens of books about Jesus, his leadership style, his servanthood style, writes about how each person should have a clear personal mission statement and how important it is to live a successful life is to have a clear personal mission statement. She writes, clear personal mission statements allow people to wake up every day with a deep and wise focus, a sense of purpose. They help us keep commitments that sometimes are hard to keep. The Apostle Paul, who wrote much of the New Testament from prison, had a clear personal mission statement that is so inspirational that I think we can learn from it today. Philippians 1:21, Paul reveals his personal mission statement. For to live is Christ, and to die is gain. Lori Beth Jones says that there are 3 rules for a clear personal mission statement. First, they should be no more than a sentence or 2 long. Second, they should be simple enough for a 12-year-old to understand. And third, they should be embedded so deeply in our heart and soul that we can recite them easily at any time, anywhere. So if someone asks you at the supermarket or at a coffee shop or at a family gathering, they ask, "What is your personal mission statement?" It will just flow out of your heart and soul. You see, Paul's mission statement passes those 3 tests with flying colors. For me, to live is Christ, and to die is gain. It's brief, it's simple enough for a 12-year-old to understand, and it just flows out of his life and his heart. See if you can guess, and I'll put it up on the screen, see if you can guess which person in history might have held these personal mission statements. My mission is to end slavery and preserve our union. Abraham Lincoln. My mission is to lead our nation out of the Great Depression. Franklin Roosevelt. My mission is to eradicate racism in our land once and for all. Martin Luther King Jr. My mission is to show mercy and compassion to the poor and dying. Mother Teresa. My mission is to end apartheid. Nelson Mandela. This one might be harder. My mission is I want to be the kind of person my dog already thinks I am. It's my brother, Rob Berkey. Last one on this. My mission is to make people happy. It's Walt Disney. You see, people whose lives have great impact in this world are generally people who have been crystal clear about their mission in life. They have a stranglehold answer to the question, why am I here? And what will I focus my life on? A tremendous amount of focused energy can be released through a person's life when they are crystal clear about what their mission is. Paul says, here's mine. For me to live is Christ and to die is gain. Let me ask you a question. Do you have a clear personal mission statement? Statistics would say that over 90% of Americans do not. Why? The question is, why don't Americans have clear personal mission statements? I mean, if they're so important, why don't people take the time to develop them? It may be because we just haven't thought about it. Comedian and theologian Buddy Hackett once said, there are 3 kinds of people in this world. Those who make things happen, those who watch things happen, and those who have no idea at all what is happening. Maybe you just haven't thought about it. Maybe you don't have one because you grew up in a chaotic family where nobody was focused. Or maybe today your life is going in so many different directions, it would be hard to narrow it down to 1 or 2 sentences. Psychologist Rollo May said, "It is an ironic habit of the human race that we double our speed when we've lost our way." That's kind of a picture of our society today. Or maybe because we might not be proud of what we're living for, we don't really want to write down our mission statement. Just recently, I reconnected with a college friend who, after several failed marriages and relationships, he's right smack dab in the middle of another midlife crisis. And I think if he was to be honest, his mission statement would be to have relations with as many women as possible, work as seldom as possible, and party as much as possible. I worked in college for a business guy who would have said, "I want to make as much money as possible, regardless of who I walk over." I just recently was talking to a lady who thought her identity was all about being with a man. She had no identity on her own, so her mission statement might be, "I need to find a man, any man, so I won't be alone." Now, my college friend and the business owner and this lady would not have admitted this was their mission statement, but it's what they were focused on. You see, one of the ways we move towards a life-giving, effective mission statement is by acknowledging the unvarnished truth about what it is we're really living for right now. Today, if we all had to wear t-shirts from the time this message was over, and then we just kind of walk through the week with a t-shirt on that showed what our mission statement was or is, t-shirts that had our true current mission statements on the front, what would they say? Some of us would want to wear a coat all week so that people couldn't read it. The Apostle Paul, if he had to live with a mission statement on his t-shirt, he would say, "No problem, I'm proud of it, I'm clear about it, to live is Christ and to die is gain." Paul says, "My relationship with Christ is the highest priority in my life." And what's interesting about Paul is he was a relational guy. He loved human relationships. He thrived on them. He had parents that he loved. He had friends, colleagues, teammates that he loved. He treasured community, but Paul knew, at the end of the day, the limitations of human relationships. He talks about it in 2 Timothy chapter 4. He's in prison and he goes to trial and he says, "The first time I was brought before the judge, no one came for me. Everyone abandoned me." Now, Paul's smart enough, he just says, may it not be counted against them. He understands that human relationships let each other down from time to time. But then he says, "But the Lord stood with me and gave me strength." You know what Paul is saying here? He's saying sometimes friends fail. Sometimes human relationships disappoint. He says, my relationship with God is central, and it's what I need more than anything else for me to live is to relate closely to Christ. Now, contrast that with the words of a pop song that some of you know. It was a huge hit. Let me read you some of the lyrics. It's called "How Do I Live?" It says, "How do I get through one night without you?" She's talking about a romantic relationship. She says, "If I have to live without you, what kind of life would that be? I need you in my arms. I need you to hold me. You're my world, my heart, my soul." And then she gets really serious. "If you ever leave, you would take everything good in my life. There would be no sun in the sky, the love of my life. There would be no love in my life and no one left for me." If her romantic interest goes away, she's saying, not a single human being is left on the face of this earth to satisfy me. And then she goes on, she says, "I would be lost if I lost you. If you ever leave, you would take everything away real in my life." And here's the chorus. "How do I live without you? I want to know, how do I breathe without you?" Apparently there's some asthma problems going on here. "If you ever go," she cries out, "how would I ever survive?" This song won a Grammy Award for Codependent Song of the Year. Paul would say this, get a grip. Human relationships are important, but people move away, romantic interests blow up, people don't always come through. Human relationships are very important. Enjoy them, treat them as God-given gifts. But Paul says there's only one who promises to never leave us nor forsake us. And then there's this little tag in his mission statement, "For me to live is Christ and to die is gain." Paul's convinced that when he carries out God's mission, when his life is over, he will be translated into the next life where he'll enjoy the presence of Christ forever. This is why a clear personal mission statement is so powerful. When you have a clear personal mission statement like Paul's, you put yourself in a win-win situation in every situation. Paul's enemies didn't know what to do with him. He was a one-man wrecking crew for spreading God's grace all throughout the world. That's the power of having a God-honoring, clear, personal mission statement. Your life becomes an unstoppable force for good and for God in this fallen world. Nobody can lure you or distract you off your mission because it's clear. You know why you're here. When you wake up in the morning, you know what you're going to focus in on. So, with the time that remains here, let Coach Ken here, I want to do two things. First, I want to get to what your current mission statement really is. Not what you hope it would be, but what is it really? You got to answer these three questions real quick, okay? I'll put them on the screen. To find out what is really, honestly, your mission statement. Question number one is, where does your mind focus when it's free to roam? Now, I know some of your minds roam faster and further than others, but we'll move on. Where does your mind focus when it's free to roam? Question two, where do you love to invest your free time in? And three, what do you joyfully spend discretionary dollars on? What do you love to give to? Many people gain insights into their own value system by answering those three questions. Where does your mind focus when it has time to roam? What do you love to invest your time in? And what do you joyfully spend discretionary dollars on? What do you love to give to? You know, whenever I'm having private conversations about personal mission statements with people, I often say to them, half kiddingly, give me the phone number of the three people who know you the best. Show me your calendar and your debit card receipts. Give me a few days to look the stuff over. Let me have some conversations, and I'll tell you with great accuracy what's most important to you in this world. When you answer these three questions, what does your mind roam to? What do you focus in on? What do you spend your money on? I want to ask this question. Are you satisfied with your answers? Is your mission worthy of your one and only life? Or could it be more focused on things that matter? Well, the good news this morning is this. The good news is if you don't like your current mission statement, you don't have to keep it. You can trade it in. You know, what's interesting is the first part of Paul's life, his mission statement would have been to use his education and superiority to climb the religious ladder of status while killing people who would be a threat to him getting to that goal. That was his first half of his life's mission statement. And then Paul meets Christ on the road to Damascus. Let me say this. Mission statements tend to change when we encounter Jesus. Peter meets Jesus and his mission shifts from fishing for fish to fishing for men. Zacchaeus meets Jesus and his mission shifts from making tons of money for himself to generously giving his money to the poor. A woman meets Jesus at a well at high noon and her mission shifts from needing men in her life to fulfill her to experiencing a new fulfillment by becoming a voice for Christ in her village. My friend Russ Snyder met Jesus through recovery and a failed marriage, and his mission shifted from accumulating more things as a successful businessman to serving the most vulnerable in the Washington, D.C. area. Over 20 years ago, my friend Ginger Jacob met Jesus. She met Jesus, and her mission shifted from being successful according to the world standards to serving people who have been marginalized or ignored or judged by the world standards. You see, mission statements tend to change when we encounter Jesus. In business school, when I was in college, if I'm honest, my mission statement would have been make a lot of money, spend it on myself, have a lot of fun, retire as soon as I can. Today, let me just share with you my mission statement today that I've been trying to live with and for many years. This mission statement was formed when I encountered Christ in the vast garbage dumps of Mexico City, where God broke my heart. Here it is. Here's the mission statement. An advocate to the poor, speaking, leading, writing, inspiring people towards justice and compassion. That's it. It's a few sentences long. A 12-year-old could understand it because that's my mental level anyway. And it comes out of the deepest part of me. Friends, it shapes my day, my readings, my calendar, my priorities. It forces my heart to stay tender. It helps me say no to good things. It fires me up. And in fact, even when I have tried to run away from that mission, God keeps bringing me back. Now, it sounds really good, huh? Very impressed, aren't you? Aren't you proud of me for having that? Well, here's the truth about me. I don't always live that mission statement for all it's worth. I get distracted, I get selfish, I get tempted, I get afraid. Sometimes I see others living selfishly, doing whatever they want, and I'm tempted to get jealous, envious. But then I remember the words of Solomon, who said, there is a way in this world that appears to be right, but in the end it leads to death. The more I live this mission statement, the more rewarding my life is. The more my life is focused, the more my life makes sense, and my joy level goes up. So let me do something real quick here at the end. Let me just give you a bunch of effective mission statements, the attributes to effective mission statements. Let me just go through this. It'll be on the screen. Effective mission statements are, first of all, unique to each of us. They're all unique. Author Herman Melville says, it is better to fail in originality than to succeed in imitation. Your mission statement is not someone else's. It's unique to you. It's unique to you. Part of the uniqueness is effective mission statements will reflect your God-given passions. All of us have different God-given passions. Some have passion for the homeless, some for recovery, some for money management, some for connecting people to others, some for education, children, hunger, clean water, grace. We all have God-given passions. Another thing is effective mission statements evolve. They evolve. When you meet Jesus, you tend to go from a self-focused life to an other-focused life. Effective mission statements will often be formed by our experiences in our lives, good and bad. I see people who have gone through extreme loss and grief, and now their mission statement is to walk alongside others who are experiencing loss and grief. The same with addiction, the same with pain. Another thing is effective mission statements help us stay focused during discouraging times. My friend Sherman Haggerty, who works for the Volunteers of America here in Rancho Cordova, they have a program. His passion is to lift the homeless, get them off the streets, help them recover, teach them a job, and make sure at the end of the 12-month program that these people who are experiencing homelessness have a roof over their head, they become reproducing members of society, and their success rate over the years is over 90%. But about 5 years ago, government funds shut off. They shut off giving them to Volunteers of America because they wanted the funds to go towards hotels and places where they could just shove the homeless in so politicians could say, hey, look at how many people we got off the streets. But it was ugly inside those buildings because there was no recovery. There was no mentoring. And for the last 5 years, my friend Sherman, whose passion, his mission statement is to lift the homeless up and liberate them. His heart has been broken. I've had breakfast with him where I just see his angst. But effective mission statements help us stay focused during discouraging times. And I don't know if you've seen this on the news, but the X Street Navigation Center in downtown Sacramento, it's two big tents where people from Land Park, homeless people from Land Park and Curtis Park and downtown are now able to go. And you know who got the contract? The contract was given to Volunteers of America. And friends, I'll get fired up. I could preach for an hour just right now about this. The homeless pandemic that we see all around us is going to change because homeless people are now going to be loved and mentored. But for 5 years, it was tough. In fact, I want you to see this video, just a 2-minute video of what they're going to be doing downtown.
We're sitting at the site of the X Street Navigation Center, which we are preparing to open tomorrow. This is a project that just aligns perfectly with the mission of our organization, which is to offer hope to people who are struggling to find hope. And what's different about this project than a traditional shelter is that the individuals can come as they are, with their kinship group or other people who they have formed bonds with in their encampments. They can bring their pets. They can bring all of their stuff with them. And we are creating the lowest barrier that we possibly can to encourage people to come and stay and let us assist in reducing barriers to finding housing. So we have been outreaching for weeks and months to the areas that are contiguous to the shelter, reaching out to those encampments to talk to them about what is coming here and the ways that it can help to improve their life. The facility is made up of 2 sprung tents. When you're inside, you don't realize you're inside of a tent. The setting is absolutely wonderful. One of the tents has the residence dormitory, where we have beds for up to 100 individuals. We also have charging stations for iPhones and places for people to sit and relax, places for people to do arts and crafts or listen to music, some quiet time. And then the second tent has the dining area and the kitchen. Food is important to us here. We offer 3 delicious, nutritionally balanced meals a day that are prepared from our central kitchen, and as a way to nurture and love people. So we're really grateful to all of the financial partners and all of the organizational partners that are going to help us move people to where they want to be.
Isn't that exciting? It's so exciting, and we're going to be figuring out ways as a church to partner with Volunteers of America, because friends, that really is the answer, to walk alongside the homeless, to educate them, to help them recover. And again, they just have an amazing, amazing program. Anyway, let me keep going. Effective mission statements also will keep you from not getting spread too thin. A year and a half ago, when our leadership team starting this church got together, we said we're going to be a safe, simple, servant-focused church. We're not going to burn out, but this is going to be very clear. It's a very clear mission statement. And last is this. Effective mission statements may seem small. You may go, well, what difference does it make for me to have a mission statement? But they often have huge impacts. In World War II, the British conducted daily bombing raids over Berlin. One night after a successful bombing raid, as they were heading for the safety of England, one bomber found itself flying alone with no protection, and suddenly a German fighter appeared out of nowhere. The crew watched helplessly as bullets whizzed by them. Thud, thud, thud. 5 bullets slammed into the fuselage of the bomber near the gas tank. The crew braced for an explosion, but nothing happened. They could see fuel pouring from the bullet holes, but there's no explosion. Miraculously, they made it back to the base safely. A few hours after they landed, one of the mechanics showed up in the crew's barracks. He had found 5 bullets inside the fuel tanks, crumpled but not exploded. He handed them to the pilot. The pilot carefully opened the shells and, to the crew's amazement, found there was no gunpowder in any of the bullets. Inside each one was a tiny wad of paper, and when he unfolded the paper, he found a note in each bullet which read, "We are Polish POWs, forced to make bullets in a factory. When guards do not look, we do not fill with powder. It is not much, but it is the best we can do." That note, that little mission statement, was signed by 4 Polish prisoners of war. A seemingly small, insignificant mission statement made all the difference in the world for the crewmen of that British bomber. So this is what I want to do today. This is one of the most practical messages I will ever give. I want to give you an assignment today and kind of give you a closing, just an assignment for this. Acts 13:36 says, "For when David had served God's purpose in his generation, he died." Now, you and I don't know when our last day will be. We only have from this day until our last day to figure out what mission we ought to be on. So here's your assignment. I want to ask you to write a clear, personal mission statement this week. It should be 1 or 2 sentences long, easy enough for a 12-year-old to understand, and one that you feel strongly enough about that you can give your life to. The good news today, as C.S. Lewis said, is you are never too old. You are never too old to set another goal or a dream. or a dream, or dream a new dream. You are never too old to set another goal or to dream a new dream. So I want to ask all of us, and will you do this? Will you write it and then post it on the church's Facebook page? Share it with someone. If you don't have the Facebook page, I don't have Facebook, then email it to us at info@live58.church. Just share, because we want to celebrate. We want to celebrate this all together. George Barna writes, nothing becomes dynamic until it becomes specific. Can you imagine? I was thinking this week as I was preparing this, fired me up. Can you imagine the power that could be released through the lives of all of us if we were clear on our mission statement? Well, it can be so. It can be so. It can happen, and like the fan in the movie Waterboy, you can do it. You can do it. Coach Ken says so, all right? Because, Jesus had a clear mission statement. His mission statement is, I didn't come into the world to condemn it, but to save it. That was it. His mission statement was other-focused. It was his passion for you and I, his love for you and I, but it included pain, and his followers tried to distract him from his mission, and his enemies tried to stop him from his mission, and his life seemed small and insignificant. But this carpenter turned rabbi who never wrote a book, never held a title, without a home for the last 3 years of his life, he stayed true to his mission. And because of that, he fulfilled Isaiah's prophecy. But he was pierced for our transgressions. He was crushed for our iniquities. The punishment that brought us peace was on him, and by his wounds we are healed. Something powerful happens when a person lives out a clear mission statement. Will you do that today? And share it with us. Because Frederick Buechner said this. I love this. It's one of my favorite quotes. I say it all the time. He says, the grace of God means something like this. Here's your life. You might have never been, but you are, because the party wouldn't have been complete without you. I love that. And the party will not be complete without you and I having a clear mission statement. So, in everything you do, put God first, and he will direct you and crown your efforts with success.